Good morning, Professor, Bruno, and class. My name is Vincent Anthony Nabu, and this is my submission for our Week 6 and 7 case study assignment. Hope you guys enjoyed my presentation. Ethical principles vary from person to person. This is a product of diversity. We all come from different cultures and dissimilar belief systems and normalized laws. We all have our own distinct aptitude to empathize. Our ability to make a decision is motivated by our own reason and conscience. Without a consistent standard, how should an individual approach solving an ethical dilemma? There are many philosophers and ethicists that ultimately believe that ethics is based on an individual's value or principle of good and bad. The difference between all their ideologies is their method to measure what should be done or what ought to be done. With varying and sometimes conflicting philosophies, how should good morals and ethical values be measured? And able to make a good moral decision, people evaluate an abundant number of factors. It is not mere happenstance that ethical behaviors apply. We all have the choice to act ethically or immorally. Our actions have consequences. If we break the law, we will face legal penalties, whether it's in the form of a fine, imprisonment, or enforced lawful remedy. It should not be our only standard to behaving ethically. Studying numerous ethical theories through this session, I have concluded that there's not one single principle that is better than the other. Life is not always black and white. It is not always easy to determine the best solution to accomplish the greatest good. Like most laws and professional codified ethics, I offer to accept a combination of ethical theories to accomplish the greatest good. Morals and morality are based on ethics, a branch of philosophy containing the theories and principles used to reach a moral decision. Ethics is used to try to ensure that business is acting morally as well as legally. All entities, individuals, and businesses, including their staffs, have a moral obligation to society. The industry and company executives ought to be held accountable for their personal and the company's perception of moral values, ethical canons, and deliberate actions. Western culture has adopted many theories from different philosophers. These philosophies have helped us establish the appropriate approach and measure to good ethics. The proper measure of virtuous moral value has facilitated our civilization to establish a system of diverse professional codes of ethics as well as normalized laws. A good example of immoral and ethical behavior is the Wells Fargo fake account scandal. In 2016, Wells Fargo, a recognized banking organization, was accused of unauthorized, fraudulent, deceptive, abusive, and illegal, unethical sales practice. Because of high and impractical sales goals, Wells Fargo's employees obtained new and current customers' information to generate false email accounts and able to open online banking accounts for them. This decision was coerced and encouraged by the bank's management team and done without the consumer's permission. According to Frank J. Cavico and Bahadun G. Mujaba, who referenced Sweet in an article they wrote, debit cards were issued and activated, and the PIN numbers created, again, without the customer's authorization. As a result, the banking institution accomplished its sales goals, increasing the company's valued stock. Accompanying these dishonest actions, 5 individual whistleblowers may have been terminated for reporting Wells Fargo. In addition, the SEC is exploring whether investors were hoodwinked and deceived with regards to the fake accounts, which encroaches on the Securities and Exchange Commission Act of 1934 and the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. As if this scam and the bank's choices were not upsetting enough, Wells Fargo's employees may have taken advantage of the Hispanic clients that had a poor understanding of the English language and lacking social security numbers. This scandal has ruined the lives of many individuals if not all of Wells Fargo's patrons. Their clients, as well as many others, may now be suffering from pecuniary disadvantage, and the societal equity of good has been jeopardized. Every person knows that we have a social responsibility and we should act ethically. But how do we approach an ethical dilemma that would provide the best principled solution? Blanchard and Peel created a method to follow. And able to come to the best possible solution, an individual must take into consideration the following questions. Is it legal? Will I be violating a civil law or institutional policy? Is it balanced? Is it fair to Is it fair to all concerned? Does it promote a win-win situations? How will it make me feel about myself? Will I be proud? Would I feel good if my hometown newspaper published my decision? And lastly, would I feel good if my family knew about my choice? Wells Fargo Bank's executives and management wanted to thrive in the banking industry. They wanted to increase the company's worth. The executives and managements intended on doing this by increasing their sales goal. Before doing so and fashioning this scandal, they should have asked themselves the following questions above. Now that the current CEO and executives have the ethical responsibility to fix their wrongdoing, as they comprise a plan of action to pay back society, their first step should make sure that everything that they plan and must be legal and ethical. The second step is to force the old managers' employees to come forward so that they can be held accountable for their actions. The third step to reconcile the company's wrongful actions should include to accommodate and pay reparations to affected consumers. Commencement after reimbursing the clients, the bank should offer complete transparency to the public and its consumers. The bank should also examine the company's internal measures so that the sales goals are practical, and the established new approach will prevent unlawful, dishonest, unethical acts. They should recreate the company's codified ethics and rules to mirror the current regulations. After doing so, they should mandate executives, managements, and employees to partake in ethical sales training and making them aware of their responsibilities as well as consequences of breaking these newly codified ethics and rules. The organization should dissolve the previous work environment and fashion a positive work atmosphere that is centralized around customer success. Lastly, Wells Fargo should express to their employees at every level the importance of good ethical performance and continually articulating that they all have a lawful, social, and ethical responsibility to their clients and the public. In my opinion, adopting and combining the natural law, Kantian's categorical imperative, and John Stuart Mill's utilitarianism theory while considering the nature of the problem, their environment, conditions, and circumstances, will serve to provide everyone with the ability to measure and promote good ethical value, whether we know it outright or not, whether we should choose to admit it. Organizations, businesses, and professional codified standards have already adopted my conceptualized opinion in some form or another. This concept validates my opinion that there is no single philosophy that is better than the other. It is best to practice a mixture of these three conceptualized principles to produce the greatest good. Whether you are an individual on a journey seeking enlightenment, or a policeman seeking justice for another who's been defiled, maybe a business student logically trying to make sense of fairness, I can't seem to think of a better question to ask. Why do we need ethics? How should ethical judgments be made? These are the first of many questions in my voyage as a student that commanded me to think of the importance of ethical behavior and performance. Studying teachings and conceptualized theories from renowned truth seekers and ethicists, I have learned how to identify and measure good ethical behavior. As individuals living in society, we have a legal, ethical, and social responsibility to others. Decisions we make, whether they are ethical or immoral, make up our principles. As a compassionate beings, we are a collection of those choices, so we must continually practice the best ethical measure of conduct possible. We must always think before we act, and think of people that will be affected by our actions, and able to promote a good moral behavior and accomplish our obligations. We ought to educate ourselves why we need ethics. I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation. Above is my referenced material used in both my report and presentations. As always, be good, be well, and God bless.